In this little lesson, we're going to take a look at compound interest, which is in your book, and it starts at around page 117, and it continues on for quite a while. And it's a very common question that comes up in the Leaving Cert paper. And basically it concerns the money that people can make when they invest or save money with a bank, and the money that they have to pay if they take a loan out from the bank. Because that's what compound interest is. Compound interest is the interest you earn on savings or investments, or the interest you pay on loans. So if you had money at home, if you have, like, let's say you've got €5,000, the worst thing that you can do with that €5,000 is to hide it, like, under your bed. Because in 10 years' time, if you didn't touch that money, in 10 years' time, you will still just have €5,000. And €5,000 will be worth a lot less in 10 years' time than it is now. So what you should do is put it into a bank account and let the bank pay you interest every year. So you're earning a little bit of money on that €5,000. Think back 100 years. People used to get paid about £2 or €2 a week. That's what the going salary was. €2 a week. And from those €2 you were able to do your shopping, you were able to pay your bills. But what happens over time is the value of money goes down. It's just what happens. So nowadays that €2 a week is worthless. Okay? It's not worthless, but you're not going to get your week's shopping out of it. So if you just put that €2 underneath your mattress 100 years ago, thinking that you were saving a lot of money, fast forward to 2020, and you've got nothing. You've got a couple of coins. So compound interest is the money that you earn when you put it into a bank account. Now, why does the bank pay you money? Well, the bank needs money, because that's how the bank makes money. The bank makes money by taking your savings and paying you a little bit of money, that's called interest, in order to encourage you to have your money with them. But what they do with your money is they loan it out to other people and they charge them more than what they're paying the guy whose money it is. So let's say I have 5,000, I put it into a bank account, they pay me 1% of that 5,000 every year. Okay? Meanwhile, they have actually loaned that 5,000 to somebody else, and they're charging that person 2% per year. So that person will have to pay back the 5,000 plus 2% each year. So you see, that's where they make their money. They take your money and they loan it to somebody else. They pay you a little, but they charge the other guy more. And that's all of that is what this whole chapter is around, compound interest. Okay, so we use the formula that's in the logbook. F is equal to P bracket 1 plus or minus I to the power of T. And all these letters stand for different things. So the F means the final amount. Okay, the final amount. So if you are saving, the F means the money that you'll have after the savings or investment period is over. So let's say you decide to save for 3 years. Every week you're going to put in €20. Every week. And you're getting 2% on that €20. What will you have at the end of the 3 years? The principle, also with F is, you can also consider F to be what you'll owe by the end of the loan term. So the formula applies to both savings and loans. You use it for both. So if you borrow money, let's say you borrow 5,000 and you pay it back over 3 years, you won't just pay back 5,000. Okay, because the bank needs to make money from you. You'll pay back more. And the final amount is what exactly you've paid back. The principal is the amount you originally saved or invested. It's the money you put into the bank or you put into the savings scheme to begin with. Or the amount of money that you originally borrowed. Okay, again, depending on the situation. Are you saving money or are you borrowing money? It's the same formula. The interest rate goes here. Okay, and the interest rate is always a percentage of whatever it is you're saving or borrowing. And T up here, the little power, stands for the time period involved. So is it over months? Is it over years? Exactly what is it over? Now, let's take a look at some what types of questions come up. So there are 3 types of questions that they ask. The first and most straightforward one is when you're missing the F, the final amount. Okay, that's very, very straightforward to do. The second type is when you're missing the principal. You're missing P. That's a little bit harder, but it's not too bad. And the third type is when you're missing I. And this is the difficult one. Okay, this is when it's difficult, and we'll go through that. So let's jump straight in and look at a question that came up in 2017. A new machine is bought for 30,000. Okay, so there's a figure. Its value depreciates by 15% each year for 5 years. So straight away, we're beginning to see, I'm just going to get a heavier marker, we're beginning to see the different figures involved here, different letters. Find the value of the machine at the end. Find the value of the machine at the end. So in other words, we are missing the final value. We're missing F. Okay, we're talking about 5 years, so that's the term. 30,000 was the original amount it cost, and 15% is the interest. So how do we do this? So this is the method. So the straightforward one here, missing F. Okay, what's the first thing we do? We write down the formula. Okay, so F is equal to P1 plus or minus. Now this is interesting because why does it have plus or minus? Well, if it's going up in value, we would use plus. But if it's going down in value, we would use minus. Depreciates mean it's going down in value. And that's what normally happens to cars or machines after you buy them. They don't go up in value, they go down in value. So we're going to use a minus. Okay, they're looking for F, so we just leave F there. Write down the formula, fill in what you have. We don't have F. We have the principal. I don't know what that is. It is 30,000, so we can put in 30,000. 1 is always 1. The interest rate is 15%. And the term, well, it's 5 years, so 5. And then we just type it into the calculator. And when you do that, F is equal to 13,311.16. Okay, that's how much the machine is worth now. So very straightforward steps for when you're missing F. You just write down the formula, fill in what you have, and type it into the calculator. I suppose the hardest part of it was seeing what is what in the question, understanding what is what. Okay, so understanding where T is, that's fairly straightforward because it's just dealing with time. That's fairly straightforward because it'll have a percentage figure after it. Understanding that depreciates mean you use a minus here. And understanding that this figure, is it F or is it P? That's the trick. And I suppose the clue was in the second part of the question when it says find the value of the machine at the end. At the end is another way of saying the final amount. So that means you don't have F. So if you don't have F, well then this must be P. Okay? Filling all of those things into the relevant places and just using the calculator. Now the second part of this question in 2011 is a little bit harder. So this is where, before we even read it, this is where we're missing the principle. Okay, we're missing P. We have F this time. Let's have a quick read of it. A sum of money was invested. Now, we don't know what it is, but we're told that it was invested for 2 years. Okay, we come back 2 years. There's the time. At 3% interest, compound interest. At the end of the 2 years, it amounted to 30,000. So they're telling us what the final amount is. Find the sum invested. That's another way of saying find the original amount. Find P, the principal. So this is where we're missing P. Now the steps are relatively the same. We write down the formula. Okay, we do that. So F is equal to P bracket 1 plus or minus the interest T. We fill in what you have. Okay, so F, we have F, it's 30,000. We don't have P. 1. Now, is it going to be a plus or is it going to be a minus? Well, let's look at the question again. A sum of money was invested for 2 years. That means somebody put it in a bank account hoping that the investment will go up. Okay, you don't put money, you don't invest money for it to go down. Investment means you should earn more money. And 3% compound interest means that it's going to go up by 3%. So it's going up, so we're talking about a plus. Now the interest rate is 3%, so we fill in 3%. And the time involved here is 2 years, so 2. Okay, we filled in what we have. What's the next step? Get P on its own by bringing over everything else. Okay, let's take a look at what we've written so far. We are missing P. There it is right there. And at the minute, it's not on its own because this big thing is with it. We need to get it on its own. Just like in algebra, we need to get P on its own so that we can solve what it is. So we need to, this thing that I'm highlighting right now in purple, this whole thing needs to move over here to the other side. Okay? It needs to move over there. At the minute, it's multiplying by the P. So if you move it, it means it's going to go under. It's going to divide. It's going to come all the way over, the whole thing. 1 plus 3% power of 2. The whole thing just moves and divides. Now P is on its own. And now, the final step is we just type it into the calculator. We type what we have into the calculator. We type this into the calculator and see what we get. And the answer is 28,277 euro and 88 cents. That's what was originally invested. Okay, that was the principal. And after 2 years at 3%, they had 30,000 in the bank. We were working backwards in that question to find what P was, what the original amount was, using those steps. Okay, now in the next video, we're going to look at the hardest type of question. And that's when you're missing I. Find the rate of interest. So these are the hardest ones. And have a look at the next video. And in that video, we'll go through this question. And then you'll have an opportunity to try a couple of them. Okay, look at the next video.